back. We are live and we're in the building. Lamb here, ready to break down 278 Usman versus Edwards. And I got my guy, Triple B, Mickey in the building. What's good, bro?
What is good? It's good to be back. Coming off a great card last week. Had some dogs barking on that one. And we got another banger of a card this week. Pay-per-view card should be a lot of fun. Ready to dive into it with you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I got to give a shout out to my boy Jared Gordon. He's fighting this week. We'll be talking about that fight in a little bit. I do want to point out the background is a little sloppy. We're under some maintenance issues over here at the crib, but let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this card. I know you are interested in this first fight of the night.
Yeah, this first fight, I like this one. We got a contender series guy and Altamirano going up. He hasn't been great so far. He lost his first fight, actually coming off of the contender series. And if there's something I like to fade here, it's these guys coming off these contender series. And you're giving me two strikers that I think are pretty similar in skill level. De Silva had lost to Jeff Molina by knockout, but Molina's a dog.
Right.
So it's not something I look too much into there. I think these guys are pretty close. I think it's a little bit closer of a fight than this line's showing. You can get this up to plus 150 at some books right now, and that's something I can't pass up on against two guys that I think it should be more of a pick 'em. And if anything, maybe slightly leaning towards De Silva. By no means is this a lock, but I love the value we're getting here. So love starting the card off with the dog, and I'm going to be rocking with De Silva to get on the money line here at plus 150. It says plus 140 on the screen. I still like it at those odds as well.
Yeah, especially if you're saying that you feel like he should be the favorite. I mean, any plus number here, you should definitely get on that. I don't really have a play on this one. I do think De Silva, I'm a prop hunter. I do love me some props. I think this fight doesn't go is an interesting one. It's smaller guys, so they're going to be throwing some leather. And I think De Silva, I would probably lean towards the De Silva side. And at a plus number, I'm with you on that. You talked me into it. I mean, I'm not gonna not have action on a fight. Like, what are we doing here? We're trying. It's pay-per-view, baby. We got to get things going. All right. The next fight is one that anytime I see a friend of mine fight, I am a nervous wreck. And especially my guy Jared Gordon, who I know him. Mickey, I'm going to give you the floor to open this up, and I am also going to give you my unbiased take. If I didn't know Jared, how I would bet this fight. But lead us off. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, to be honest, I like Jared Gordon this one. Obviously, he's a heavy favorite in this one. I'm not going to be betting any money line on this one. I think a better angle on this one that I'm personally going to be taking is fight doesn't go to decision. I think that's a little bit more trustworthy of a play here. I think that it is possible for Santos to get a finish in this one. He's lost his last two by finishes as well, so that's nice to see as well. He's gotten a couple. He KO'd one of his wins recently, but Guida subbed him and Dawson KO'd him. So I think that either way, this fight is going to end with inside the distance. I do like Jared Gordon to win it. So, but we're going to lay off of any of that heavier juice. You can get under 2.5 at plus money if you want to roll the dice a little bit. But I'm going to be going with fight doesn't go to decision, which is sitting at minus 110 on this one.
Yeah, what's interesting is fight doesn't go opened up at around like plus 140, and now it has completely flipped. I think more and more people were hammering that, and they bet that line down to now where it's kind of expected it doesn't go. All right, so here's the thing, right? I think Leonardo Santos is very, very live in the first round. Bias aside, I think I would lean towards Leonardo Santos in the first round. You get 12-1 to win in the first round. You get 8-1 for him to win in the first round. Leonardo Santos is historically a guy who, after the first round, completely dips in production. He has had issues with the cardio in his fights. Jared, on the other hand, is a guy who is a cardio machine. He keeps a big pace. He's in your face. Even in that Grant Dawson fight, his last fight out, he was on the ground getting dominated, but was still looking very fresh in the third round. Jared's cardio is out of control. So the way I'm approaching this fight, Mickey, is I totally agree with you on the fight doesn't go. That's probably my favorite bet in this fight. Fight doesn't go. Leonardo Santos in the first round, very live. I would bet him there. And then I would look to maybe get Jared after round 1, and Jared to win in the third round, I think is very interesting. You can get that at 12-1 some places. Leonardo Santos looks brutal, has gotten 10-8'd twice in his career in the third round. So it gets pretty bad for him there. And then Jared by decision. I do think Jared should win this fight, but that first round, Mickey, is definitely going to have me on my P's and Q's watching this.
Yeah, I think that that fits both of our bets there a little bit. You know, if you are taking Santos in the first round, I think those are great odds to get it at. And like you said, he's going to be most live in that round. So if he gets an early finish, that helps. That helps me. It could help if you take that first round bet. But like you said, I think Jared Gordon turns it up in the second and third rounds whenever Santos' gas tank is pretty much gone, and he just turns into a body in the ring. So. I think Jared Gordon can do a lot of work in the later rounds. So either way, I think there's a lot of potential for some finishes in this one. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to make some money in this one.
Yeah, and I also think keep an eye out if Santos has a monster first round, maybe drops Jared and he could get it to the stools for after round 1. I think he could maybe find Jared as a dog or, maybe minus 120 as opposed to laying minus 265. I think that's the interesting approach for this one. I mean, the heart is going with Jared. I also do think, bias aside, Jared, if he could get out of that first round, should get his hand raised. Next up is a fight that I am very excited for. We got Romanov at minus 340, undefeated, 16-0, King Kong, going up against Marcin Tabura. I am on the underdog here, and rather confidently too, man. I know it's plus 280, but I think Tabura is a bad matchup for Romanov. Unless, Mickey, 6 months from now, we're having the conversation of Romanov being a top 5 guy, and we're just like, you know what, man? We should have saw this coming. But I think this is a massive step up. Tabura's been in there with some big names in the heavyweight division. He's sort of been a staple in the heavyweight division. I don't want to call him a gatekeeper because he's not quite that, but he's a guy that you're going to run into if you want to crack the top 10. And I think Tabura is live at plus 280. I like this fight to be controlled on the ground one way or another. And we haven't seen Romanov on his back or mounted or just having to battle from underneath. We've seen him in top position looking rather dominant. But, I mean, Mickey, who isn't when they're in top position? Right. Romanov also, similar to what I said about Leonardo Santos, after round 1, has some cardio issues. When he fought Espino, that fight ended in the third round with some weird doctor stoppage. He ended up getting the win anyway, but he looked like he needed the defibrillator halfway through that third round. So I'm on Tabura. I think he's my favorite dog of the weekend, the one I'm the most confident in. And I like some of his props inside the distance, maybe third round stoppage as well. If the fatigue plays into it, a little 25-1 piece. I've talked a lot about my favorite dog. How do you feel about this fight?
No, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of value on Tabura here. Romanov, like you said, we just haven't seen him in these dangerous positions yet. He's fought, not necessarily trash cans, but he hasn't fought anybody that's going to give him that much of a challenge. And like you said, these are heavyweights, so anyone can look good when they get on top of someone early. And, he does have the skills. I'm not saying Romanov isn't good. He's obviously good. But Tabura definitely is going to bring a challenge to him. And like you said, the gas tank isn't there. Tabura has been in full 3-round fights multiple times. 3 of his last 5 fights have been full 3-round fights. So we know that he can go the distance. Romanov, if it does go to there, I think he's going to be in deep waters. So I like the value on Tabura, and especially when you look at some of these, by KO, by submission. If you can find the right combination here, I think you can get a lot. But even if you don't want to get too greedy, because like you said, we might be talking about Romanov if he can get through this. Not that he's a gatekeeper, but he kind of is the gatekeeper for Romanov right now, because this is like the prove it step right here for him. If he can get through Tabura, I think we do see Romanov being one of these next big guys. But I can't pass up on this value from Tabura here. I'm going to be on him as well. I'm going to take the money line. I think this is the big prove it spot for him. If he can prove it, then, take my money. But I'm liking Tabura here.
Yeah, man. And also, let's not get greedy, right? Inside the distance might be fancy at plus 800 in some places, plus 650. But dude, plus 280 is nice too. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's.
Like, let's not. We are fishing a little bit. Can I give you a wild prop? Wild prop. You know how I
Oh,
am with my
I'd
props,
love to
right?
hear Wild Prop.
All right, Tabura round 3 TKO knockout, 35-1.
I could 100% see that. Like we said,
Oh
with the gas tank issues.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
just gets taken down, a sloppy takedown by Tabura because Romanov just don't have any gas left, and just a fatigue stoppage, right?
I
Like
could.
he's
Yeah,
just
I could literally see him just covering up. Not even like that he's landing these crazy blows. Just like almost a sloppy. We fall on the ground and I punch you a few times, and Romanov can't even breathe. So
yep, yep.
I
And
can see it.
you hear Herb Dean fight back, and I'm just over there fist pumping because I hit that 35-1. We might need to get that clipped. We're definitely getting that clipped if it happens. All right, let's roll right into the main card for UFC 278. And the first fight we see Mickey minus 730 for Tyson Pedro going up against Harry Hunsucker at plus 530. Kick us off. How do you feel about this fight to open up the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think this is a hey, Tyson Pedro is this good of a fighter. This is why he's such a heavy favorite. I want to start off with I think Harry Hunsucker is just an awful fighter, and if he was fighting pretty much anyone else, I don't think this would be the line we would see here. But I mean, Harry's just he's god awful. There's no really other way to put it, in my opinion. He's versed some decent people. Obviously, he got knocked out by Tai Tuivasa, who has knocked out everybody. You can't really fault him for that, but he's just looked awful. You can't take this on the money line. I wouldn't use it as a parlay piece because even though Harry is bad, I'm not Tyson's no one I would trust with minus 730 on the money line. If I'm going to take this, I'm going to look for a prop. My favorite prop in this one would maybe be like a little bit of a contrarian prop here, maybe going with a Tyson Pedro by sub.
Ooh.
He's had a sub win before. He literally 4 fights ago, it was all the way back in 2018, though. He's not the most active fighter. I'm still just probably not even going to bet that. This is a fight I'm probably going to lay off of. If I had to, gun to my head, I'm taking, Tyson Pedro by sub.
I like it, man. For minus 730, I mean, you look at his knockout prop, it's minus 225, minus 240. It's MMA, right? Minus 730 for a guy who I don't want to call him a prospect. He did come out the gates crazy, right? He beat Paul Craig. He beat Roundtree. This is a guy who, when he wins, he gets finishes, and they're mostly in the first round. And then Hunsucker has been finished in the UFC in the first round, too. Hunsucker also was a heavyweight, now dropping to light heavyweight. I would give him the power advantage. And like you said, man, it's MMA. A crazy Pedro doesn't see it, rocks him, and then before you know it, it blows up your parlay piece. I would not have Tyson Pedro in a parlay piece, and I think the only way I would bet this fight would be to try to find some value, try to find a plus number, and hope Pedro maybe takes him to the ground and can get a submission. Besides that, I think my favorite bet in this fight would probably be laying heavy juice on the under 1.5 rounds at minus 350, because Hunsucker gets finished in the first round or Pedro wins in the first round. But I like that take of submission, man. I haven't heard many people say that, so I'm on board with that.
Yeah, it's plus 400 on FanDuel right now, so that's probably your best odds in that one. And if you can get a plus 400 winner out of a minus 730 money line, would love to see that. Obviously, it's a little bit of a long shot, maybe just a sprinkle on that one. Not one of my favorite bets on this card for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're trying to, he's minus 550 to win inside the distance, right? So like that's not even, you can't even feel confident in that in a parlay piece either, because it just maybe because he's been inactive, he wants to get some octagon time. We don't know. We don't know what the
right.
There's
There's a lot of things that are weird about this fight.
Yeah, I'm on that sub with you. I like that. You talked me into that one. Next up, we got Alova against Wu. Women's fight in the bantamweight division. I am shocked that this is on the pay-per-view. They moved Romanov and Tabura to the prelims for this fight. I think this is an interesting play by the UFC because at this point they're like, dude, we got your $75, so you're gonna watch what we want you to watch anyway. I don't really have anything on this fight. Do you?
Yeah, I'm going with the dog in this one. The plus 100. I think that Wu has faced just tougher competition. Pudilova is coming from Octagon. It's a a lower level UFC or MMA organization. First UFC fight here. She's up on the bright lights. I just think Wu's going to use her composure here. It's a light play for me, but I think she's been here before. She hasn't done the greatest, but she's also faced much, much, much harder competition. So she's been in there with some dogs. I think that she can, this is a kind of like almost a little bit of a relief for her. And I think there's a reason they're putting not to like push agendas, but I think the UFC wants, a little bit of a Chinese fan base. They want a Chinese winner here. I could definitely see them kind of setting up a little bit of a Chinese win here because Chinese fighters have been kind of struggling as of late, and they kind of need a hero. I don't know if Wu's the one to do it, but any kind of a win would be good because that would be a huge market for the UFC to be able to capitalize on. But I like Wu as a short underdog here. Not little light play here. Can't not have a bet on the main card.
Fair, very fair. And they also announced Wei Li is fighting Carla at MSG. So that was the last time that they had a dominant Chinese champion. So that's going to be interesting. All right, let's move on to the next fight. I think I would call this. I don't know if there's a bigger fan favorite on this card than Jose Aldo, and he's coming in at plus 120 against Merab Davishvili at minus 135. Mickey, when I say Aldo early, Merab late, do you think that's the take everyone has for this week?
I think that's fair. This is one I think they actually got right. I think these odds are actually right. People are going to hate it, and I think a lot of people, especially maybe coming Saturday, there's going to be a lot of people right before the card say, "What? I can bet Jose Aldo at plus money," and they're just going to come firing in on him. But I think Merab gets it done in this one, man.
Dude, that's exactly what I said. I was on Bet to Win with Joe Fan, and I said that this feels like a line the sports books have put out verbatim what you just said. People are going to check in on Saturday when the main card starts. They're like, oh, Aldo's fighting. What? He's plus 110, plus 120. And they're just going to come in and dump money on Aldo. I think right now Merab is on that crazy win streak. I believe it's 7 in a row. I would say right now at this point of their careers, he's the better fighter. He dictates where the fights go. He has insane cardio. I mean, his third rounds look like the fight just started. I do see Aldo having a moment in the first round the way Moraes had against Merab as well. Merab got dropped by Marlon Moraes. He was almost finished. And then in the second round, it looked like a complete 180 of a fight. So to me, I like Aldo early. I don't think Aldo at this point of his career can win a decision over a guy like Merab. Ultimately, I agree that Merab should be the favorite. And look, this could be something, man, that after this fight, if it's a 30-27, we're like, damn, Merab at minus 130 should have been a minus 200 favorite.
Yeah, I love Merab in this spot. I'm not going to lie. The only thing I'm a little worried about is I hope that we don't get any early stoppages in this one because Merab showed, especially in his last fight, he has the recoverability. And even throughout the rest of that fight, he looked completely fresh. So just because he's in danger, we've seen some early stoppages on some of these recent cards. We've seen some late stoppages too. So you never really know what you're going to get. You can't really cap necessarily strictly off of what might get called in this. But I think as long as I think Merab can, I think he'll survive any early, big strikes from Jose. Because obviously, I think Jose, like you said, I think he'll have his moments. But overall, I think Merab's just got the advantages. I love him at minus 130. And honestly, if you wait, you can probably get him at a better number. I'm going to lock it in now. But I think a lot of people late will steam in on Jose. But I'm locking in Merab early. I think he gets this one done.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Merab gets his hand raised at the end. I think a prop that's interesting is if you're just looking at it from an odds and value standpoint, the fight to go with the decision is minus 200. And then if you are on Aldo, Merab is a tough guy to finish. You get Aldo at plus 240 to win by decision. They're telling you that the fight's going to go to distance. And this is essentially a pick'em fight. I think that would be how I would play this fight if I was on the Aldo side. But I do think Merab ultimately on the money line, minus 130. I think that's the play for me there. All right. Is this the people's main event?
I think so.
Luke Rockhold, the return of the once 185 king, coming in at plus 295, going up against Paulo Costa Borrachina, the eraser, at minus 360. If this fight goes the distance, I feel like I just don't know MMA anymore, man. Because this fight is gonna go under. I think this fight ends early, and I think someone is gonna get flatline in brutal fashion. Is how I'm assessing this one.
Yeah, Rockhold's coming off a bit of a layoff here. Hasn't fought since 2019. His last two fights have been both TKO losses. Like you said, it's a weird fight to come back to. If you're honestly, after the past two fights he's had, to come back to Paulo Costa, who's got probably some of the heaviest hands in the middleweight, to come back to this after what you just went through. It's a little interesting to me. For him to win by TKO is minus 150. It's a little bit juiced, but I do think that's the most likely outcome of this fight here. I think I'll probably be on that. I think he's a good little parlay piece as well, honestly. I know it's a little bit steep, and there is the possibility Luke Rockhold can do stuff, but I just think this is a big fight for Paulo, and I think he gets it done as well.
Yeah, man, I'm with you, dude. I think one interesting approach could be Costa round one. That first exchange could be too much for Luke Rockhold. He has not been active. He has been chinny, going back to Bisping, going back to Romero, going back to Jan Blachowicz. And Paulo Costa was just fighting at 205. I ran into Paulo Costa one time in Vegas. The first thing I said to him was, dude, there's no way you make 185. And he just started rubbing his stomach. He was like, I like to eat, Poppy. That's what he said to me. And I was like, dude, you are a house, right? Luke Rockhold also has a lot of difficult weight cuts. I think this is I could see this playing out like how Joanna and Wei Lee played out, where if Rockhold gets stopped ugly, he maybe retires once and for all. He doesn't really need to fight. He makes a lot of money out of the octagon. He has a lot of different business ventures where fighting isn't the be all end all for him. And I'm always a little hesitant at any time I see those kind of scenarios in the fight game, especially a guy like Paulo Costa, who got humbled by Adesanya. Then he had that whole fiasco with the weight issues with Marvin Vettori, and he's been out of the octagon as well. You know, I believe it's 16 or 17 months since he's fought. To me, Rockhold inside the distance would be interesting if you think Rockhold can win this fight. I know we just said before about Tabura, Mickey, which is funny because now I'm saying like inside the distance for Rockhold as a big dog, like plus 295 is awesome. But I think you could get great value on that because I don't see him winning a decision. I don't think the fight's going to go to distance. And what you said, I think that first exchange, Costa to win in round one is plus 165. So I think that first exchange could be something where that first exchange just ends the fight. So those are the two approaches that I'm looking. I think Paulo Costa gets his hand raised at the end. I think it could get ugly. And then also I saw on one sports book this fight to end by knockout, either way, minus 150. I think that's pretty interesting too, because I don't think either guy wants it to hit the ground. Maybe Rockhold a little bit more.
Yeah,
but
I'd lean to Rockhold.
Yeah, this is going to stay on the feet, and it's going to end by knockout. Main event time.
Main event.
Okay. I've been going back and forth on this one. And I'm not someone that like takes a lot from weigh-ins and stare downs, but the one big takeaway, Mickey, was I didn't realize how massive Leon Edwards is. Like he towers over. Maybe not towers, but he's bigger than I assumed he would be over Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, he's got about 2 inches, I think, in height on him. I think he's like 6'2", and then Usman's like 6 foot. I'm interested to see. I'll let you lead this one off. What your take is on this, because I know there's a lot of people that are thinking Leon Edwards is going to be the new champion after this fight.
I feel that way as well too. Just to start that off, so I've been looking back at some of the opponents that Kamaru has had, his last 4 opponents, and it's funny how it seems like he's always fighting rematches. So this is the second time that these two guys fight, but also that was 7 years ago, so I'm not putting any stock into that. Both guys are completely different fighters, but it's just important to mention since it is Usman Edwards too. Mickey, I think Leon's the best striker of all the guys that Usman has fought, and all those guys have rocked and stunned Kamaru in those exchanges. Colby Covington is probably the best fighter I would say that he's fought, but Colby isn't going to knock you out with one punch. Colby's going to knock you out by, absorbing 240 strikes, and then eventually your body just shuts down, right? I think Leon packs a punch, and he does have the power to be able to drop Usman where the other guys were just hitting him and stunning him, and Usman was doing that little bobble kind of thing. So I think the length is going to be interesting for Leon Edwards at plus 285. I bet it last week at plus 310, and they're giving me the cash out, but I never cash out the bets. Ride or die is how I live. I'm on Leon, man. I think we're going to get Anu. And at plus 295, he's a guy who doesn't fatigue. He has great cardio as well. And I don't want to say it's the beginning of the end for Usman because he just looked so awesome in his last fight, but I do think Edwards could get him.
I'm with you there on, I think it may be the beginning of the end, but I think Usman gets it done in this one. I personally am going to be on Usman inside the distance. I think his knees are kind of going out. I do see he's like bone on bone down in those knees at this point. So I think it is coming to an end here, and maybe, it depends on who they throw at him next or if he gets through this. Cause I do think it's a possibility that, Leon can win this fight. I'm not going to ignore that. I think there's too many people that are just all over him though. I think there's, it's a little bit of disrespect going on it because it's always the same thing, well, he's never fought someone that, can do this or that. And, Leon Edwards has never been in like real trouble. And they're like, well, neither had Masvidal, who was supposed to be a big striker and stuff. And obviously Masvidal is not the same level of striker as Leon Edwards. I think he is obviously a lot more powerful, but they are somewhat similar. And we saw that end in the second round of a TKO. But I just think that he's gonna get it done here. I don't think he's gonna wrestle as much like Colby. So I do think we see a finish. We saw that in the two previous ones to that. Gilbert Burns, he's obviously just a lot of mayhem there and stuff. I do think Leon Edwards is a real threat to this, and I do think Kamaru Usman's title reign is like everyone's is eventually going to come to an end, and probably sooner rather than later. But I think he gets it done on this one, and I think he's going to start. We're going to see it be declining though. I think from here on out, these fights are going to be a lot more sweaty. It's not these, Usman's guaranteed to win every single one of these. I think it's going to be a lot closer, but I like Usman at plus money. I think I got him at, what did I get him at? Plus 225 to win inside the distance. So right now, I think that line has moved a little bit, but it's probably going to continue to move. Maybe some more people hop on Leon Edwards and get a better line. But I have right now, you can get Usman wins inside the distance at plus 200. So it's still at, plus 200 range. That's what I'm rocking with for this main event. Either way, I think this is going to be a great fight.
Yeah, man, I like that. The inside the distance. That's a good take. That was a strong take. I get a little worried sometimes when a guy comes up as a wrestler and then they start to fall in love with their hands a little bit too much. And I wonder if that has to do with Burns being the best jiu-jitsu guy in the UFC and not wanting to play with fire down there. And then you had the wars with Colby, who was also a wrestler. I would like to see Kamaru maybe, hit the mats and go back to his ways with the wrestling. I think that would be really interesting to see play out. But, Kamaru inside the distance, if he's this big of a favorite and the way he's been knocking people off left and right, I think that's very interesting, especially with the line moving down. I think you've gone on to something there. And you know what? You bring up a good point, man. I hate when I'm on something early on and then everybody starts to say it too. You know what I mean? Like people.
I hate that's literally the worst.
Yeah. Now it's like, damn, I thought I was coming up with a gem. And now a lot of people I've been seeing are thinking Leon is live. And he is. And
he is live. I don't want to get away from the fact that it's not impossible that Leon doesn't win this fight. It's definitely possible. I think that Leon's a great fighter, and I think he's definitely got the tools to do it. It's just whether Usman fights his game plan. Because like you said, I think if he takes it to the mats and he uses a lot of his strengths, I think it's just whether or not he can get to it. Because I know, Edwards has got pretty good takedown defense. It's gonna be interesting how this fight plays out.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I think 6 of his last 7 fights have gone the distance. The only one being Peter Sabata, he won by TKO and punches. That's Leon Edwards I'm talking about. And everything else has been unanimous decisions, 5-round unanimous decisions. And if you think he could win a decision, plus 900 is really interesting as well. That's almost 3 times the odds of the money line. So you're on Kamaru inside the distance. I'm on Leon to win outright. I like it when we have a little bit of a disagreement. I think that makes that fun. And the coolest thing about it is we could put our money where our mouth is and then see some screenshots later on.
Yes, sir.
All right. Best bets. Do you have any best bets for the people as we begin to sign off?
Yeah, I'll give you 3 best bets. I'll give you one that we didn't get to talk about. I'm going to take Sean Woodson to win by KO or TKO. Got that at plus 195. I'm sure that line will probably continue to move, though. That's one of my favorite little lines there. And then we talked about Merab. I'm going to be on him. That's probably my favorite bet, honestly, almost of the entire card. I think that it's a little bit contrarian to what a lot of the public's going to like, but I like it there. And then I'm going to throw Kamaru Usman, main event. Got to have the main event on the best bets, I guess. Kamaru Usman inside the distance plus 225. So we got some decent plus monies on those.
I love it, man. I love it. I am on my favorite dog of the week is Tabura. I think Tabura wins that fight. If you want to get wild, one of my favorite props is Tabura in the 3rd round by knockout. You get him at 35-1. You know I'm going to be very excited if that happens. And I think my favorite bet of the entire card might be Gordon and Santos does not go to distance at minus 110, even money in some places as well. So there you have it, UFC 278. If you guys hit some of these bets, tag us, let us know, show us hashtag screenshot life. I'm Lamb, that's Mickey, and we will catch you guys next time on the show.